Welcome one and all to Umami Manga. I'm Petter, and this is James.
Hello.
And today we're talking about Volume 2 of A Bride's Story. Quick summary of this volume is that Amir becomes friends with a girl named Pariya, or however it's supposed to be pronounced again. Sorry for all of the pronunciations throughout these episodes. That's how I've chosen to pronounce it, but I don't know any of these names, to be fair. Anyway, back on track. After they become friends, they visit the Holkia Mausoleum, and shortly after that, Azel and some others from Amir's clan return once again to try to bring Amir back with them. Then one sheep stampede and one failed infiltration attempt later, the Halgal clan left Amir in the town alone, for now at least.
Mm.
Then there's cloth preparations, and Mr. Smith receives rather a lot of letters, and then he departs to retrieve an item of some kind. And that's basically, in short terms, what this volume was, I'd say.
Yeah, I say so. I think you got a few things right. You were talking about how, well, I guess this one's more I got wrong. I was thinking that they would come back with a gift and not go straight to kidnapping and then, force, but they skipped the gift part. It's like,
Right.
like we were already nice enough. Yeah, they went straight to that. And then
Mm-hmm.
with Mr. Smith, we have some interesting potential conflict with those Northerners and the well, not just Mr. Smith, but there's rumors around about what's happening up north and with the Russians, and that's something that you were talking about. So very good, good job.
Right, yeah, I'm happy that it turned out to be the case. Or, well, I'm not happy for the characters, because this means the potential of some pretty nasty things coming in the future, potentially. Um, but yeah, I guess I did call that.
But as I was saying in the previous volume, I now understand. I have expectations for going forward. It's not just going to be focused on Amir and Karluk. It'll, I assume, go on to a new bride and her story, and maybe we'll come back to Amir. I feel like we will come back to Amir here and there, but it does feel like we're going to be seeing a lot of bride's story.
Precisely.
And so that's what I meant at the end of volume 1. What am I to expect here?
Mm-hmm.
And this volume 2 helped me set those expectations.
I'm glad it did, as you had hoped that it would. Yeah, I agree. It definitely seems like there will be other bride stories within this story. That said, though, I feel like Amir may still remain like the main bride.
Yeah.
Still, even if the focus may be
I kind of hope for
divided.
that.
Yeah, I hope so too. Because it is nice to have like a consistent protagonist, I guess. Even though I'm happy to see new characters be introduced still.
Mm-hmm.
But should we get into the character discussions?
Yes.
So let's start with Amir. She was singing in the previous volume as well, of course. But
Mm-hmm.
something about her singing again in this volume seemed to, at least to me, establish that side of her more. And I guess singing just comes very naturally to her, more so
Mm-hmm.
than I thought while only having read the first volume.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a fun and nice side to her character.
Yeah, I thought it was really cute how she just kind of just started singing about what she was doing.
Yeah.
It was very charming to see that, and I don't know if the other girls were making fun of her or just thought it was silly. I mean, I thought it was equally cute that Pariah or Pariya was trying to stand up for her, like make sure she wasn't getting bullied or anything. But honestly, I think
Yeah.
they were just kind of laughing with her.
Precisely. That was my interpretation of it as well. So ultimately, I don't think there was any ill intent or anything like that
Yeah,
behind it. But still,
yeah.
mm,
Just another charming thing about Amir.
absolutely. And she adds Pariya to her group of archery pupils
Yeah.
as well. So that group is growing. It looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. Soon they'll have an armada of archers.
Oh right. Next time the Halgal clan comes in the with trouble, they'll have a bunch of archers.
Oh my. No killing, children.
Yeah, no, yeah, be careful. Speaking of the Halgal clan, Amir had a very positive initial reaction to seeing all of them, like Azel and
Yeah.
her uncles and everyone. So I thought that
Particularly
was
her elder
interesting.
brother.
Exactly, yeah, especially him. Which I think is another point, as we were discussing last time, what kind of a relationship she has to him, or she had
Mm-hmm.
to him, or whatever you want to say. Um, I'm more and more getting the vibe that he's not such a bad guy. Obviously, we'll talk more about him later, but
Mm-hmm.
it seems like, at least to me right now, that the relationship that they had while they were a family was probably actually a good one.
Right. Yeah, we talked about, oh, they didn't have any fights, but did that mean they were on good terms or just indifferent? I
Uh
I,
huh.
I think they were on good terms.
Yeah.
That's how I view it particularly Amir very much seems to think highly and care for her older brother. I mean, I don't know if she may have been hurt after all this.
Mm.
Maybe that relationship may be a little bit strained. Although I think they may have left on good terms, and at least with the horse situation.
Right.
We can talk about that later. But yeah, like at the very least, her brother's good. I'm not so sure about her father or the rest of the clan.
Uh huh. Mm. I feel similarly about that. But before Karluk stepped in front of Amir to protect her in that scene when her clan had just arrived, it looked like Amir was kind of assessing the situation and readying herself in case a fight would break out. She was like, basically, like it looked to me at least like her eyes were kind of wandering and kind of seeing what weapons were around and like potentially, well, for one to see what the enemy could do potentially. But I also kind of got the feeling that she may have been readying herself to maybe pull somebody's weapon to use herself, in case the worst case scenario would happen, kind of
Oh, really?
like in the moment, like just before Karluk stepped in front of her to defend her. Yeah, I mean, even though he wasn't able to do much right there, but still. Um,
I'd read that as well. She was assessing the situation. I don't know if she was. I guess is she looking at her own bow? Maybe. No, that's someone else's bow. That's
uh,
the horse bow. So
mm,
so I think she's just realizing, okay, these guys, why do they have all these weapons on them?
fair, it could be that
What's
as well.
you know, are they here to do this by force, kind of thing?
Right. True. True. That's also possible. I guess I like the idea of her getting ready for a fight, though. But then,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know.
I feel like if she was gonna be ready for a fight, she would have done that in the next few panels, or even when she was in her room hiding from her clan. I feel like she would have
Mm,
not been the way she was and would have probably ran out and started shooting stuff. But I don't know. I feel like
mm.
she has the ability to do so. I just don't know. I don't think she has the disposition to do so. I don't think that's her personality.
Right. Yeah. Right. And yeah, it's got to be. Well, she's got to be conflicted because this is her previous family and everything. Like she
Mm-hmm.
she still has some fond thoughts about these people,
Mm-hmm.
especially her brother, of course. So yeah, yeah, it's rough.
More about her personality. You kind of touched on this, I think, in the previous volume, but they even mention it in this one. Is that she doesn't speak up for herself. She seems
Mm,
outgoing yet kind of passive. Like
right.
when she went into the bread oven place, she wasn't trying to sneak her way or to force her way in. She was just kind of waiting for an opening and then kind of gingerly take it if she can, not
Right.
wanting to impose her will on anybody. So is there a reason for that? Could that be some sort of growth for her? Not to say that you can't be that way per
Mm.
se, but also, it doesn't hurt to be more assertive.
Right, precisely.
So yeah, I'm curious if there'll be any sort of growth from that, or if there's a reason for her passiveness.
Precisely. Precisely. I do hope we get to see some more on that because it seems like an area where there is growth potential for her.
Mm-hmm.
And based on how we see some of her uncles act, I feel like it's not unlikely for that side of her to be a result of perhaps her upbringing and the way that her clan was treating women potentially. Um,
Yeah.
Obviously, the Numaji appear to be worse still, but
Oh
her
boy.
her home clan may not be great either,
Uh-huh.
potentially. But yeah, like even though like she didn't speak up in the moment when her old clan came to fetch her. I don't think she said much after they said that they were bringing her back. Uh, it definitely seemed like she didn't want to go back with them based on her face reactions and whatnot. And that was even before knowing the reason for wanting her back. Like already before knowing, she definitely didn't seem too keen on going with him. And then of course after learning the reason, then that the Numaji have been possibly killing several brides, at least two brides in a row,
Mm-hmm.
um, from their clan, then of course she'd be terrified to go there.
Right. And I mean, just going with her uncles and whatnot, like that, going by herself away from her husband, that wasn't gonna, she wasn't gonna, didn't want that. And
Mm,
then being on top of that, being told, well, we're giving you to someone else. So
yeah.
that that makes it matters even worse. So yeah, not a not a great situation either way.
Yeah. I guess my gut feeling about the Numaji turned out to be pretty accurate.
Yeah,
Uh,
you got that one.
but yeah, and I guess going along with that, we learned also that the Numaji have gained a lot of power recently by forming connections with the Northerners.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, this identity of the Northerners is not necessarily fully clear yet. However, as I was speculating last week, and as we were touching on a little bit before, the Russian conquest of Central Asia seems to be more and more likely after having read this volume now.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it wouldn't be crazy to think that these Northerners that the Numaji have aligned themselves with are the invading Russians.
Yeah, based on what that one mailman guy,
Right.
his information to the dad, yeah, I feel like
Mm,
it has to be the Russians.
mm, mm. So that's exciting, I suppose.
Well, I guess
Uh,
that's one way to put it.
yeah.
Since
Yes.
we're talking about the Numaji, I just want to say that they were the ones who it, they killed the Amir's female relatives.
Hmm.
Uh, it's not necessarily they died from sicknesses. No, they were beating them supposedly.
Supposedly, yeah.
Uh,
Right.
they kicked someone that was pretty close to Amir. At least she knew her pretty well. Atelui, however it's pronounced.
Mm.
They kicked her until her bones broke. Her bones broke. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's scum. That's lower than low. That's terrible.
It's so terrible. So yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd also be absolutely terrified to go to a place like that. Um,
Terrified, but also just sad that
mhm,
I mean I think she's just mortified that it happened to someone she knows.
right, that as well. So luckily, she didn't have to go with him this time either.
Yeah.
But I am excited to eventually meet some of the characters from this Numaji clan, see what they're really like.
I mean, with the way the story is going, there could be a point where we see a bride's perspective of
Ooh,
the Magi, which would be interesting, but also kind of
Could be really tough.
depressing. Maybe like
Right. Hmm.
I can't imagine it being great, but maybe there could be some sort of redemption or uh, a change that happens or something like that.
Definitely hope so. And also, I guess third time's the charm. If whoever ends up there the third time uh, lives and manages to get by. um,
Oh, so I'm not supposed to kick the wife. Oh, sorry. I'm kind of new at this.
Life lessons. My goodness. Ah, well, after the Halgal clan's failed attempt to bring Amir back, Amir became quite distant from Karluk for a while.
Yeah.
And I I guess I'm still not 100% sure as to why, but I do have some speculations as to why she acted that way for a couple days or however long it was. One being that it could be because of a degree of confusion as to her feeling confused about where she belongs, uh,
Mm.
like which family she really belongs to or and whatnot, as well as some understandably complicated feelings about her previous family in general, about the Halkal clan. Or maybe it's because her feelings for Karluk had taken a bit of a leap forward after having just gone through what they went through together.
Ding 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 ding. I
And
I think that's what it is.
gotcha. Uh, or I guess it's a combination of both of those two options. She gained the heart of a bride, according
Mm-hmm.
to her grandmother, or well, her grandmother-in-law. But I didn't fully understand what that meant.
Yeah. I think that's kind of a poetic way of saying that she truly fell in love with her husband to be, or her husband, I guess I should say.
Uh-huh. Right. Mm.
Not to say that she didn't have those feelings. I think they were starting to go, and I think over time those feelings can swell up. And a big moment, like you said, a big moment like this
Mm.
can really impact that feeling to a point where I think she was it was kind of almost like a schoolgirl kind of a thing where you you're crushing on somebody and you know maybe it's more a Japanese anime thing to be honest, but you're crushing on somebody and you don't want to get too close because you don't want to embarrass yourself or make the wrong move or something like that.
Mm.
I kind of feel like that's what it was, but obviously I didn't know off the top of my head. I didn't think she hated him.
No.
Um,
No.
I never thought that.
Mm.
I just wasn't quite sure what it was besides infatuation. Um,
Mm. Mm.
but I'll admit that just saying "heart of a bride" is not clear at all.
Not particularly. I did have one other guess, and I don't think this reason is necessarily like the only main thing for her behavior, but it could be a
Mm-hmm.
part of it, being that well, because I feel like one trait of Amir that's been established up to this point is that she wants to repay favors, kind of.
Mm,
As we see, she shot the bird down for Pariya
that's
for
true.
giving her the bread, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wondered if it could have been something like that, like she felt indebted to Karluk for him having put his life on the line for her.
Yeah.
But she felt unworthy of being his wife or something like that. At least on maybe on some level, because she wasn't able to repay that deed, and that would explain perhaps that she started feeling, or it seemed like she was starting to feel a whole lot better after she got to hunt and make food for him.
Right.
Potentially could have been at least a contributing factor to it.
I could see that as well. Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm. Well, do you have anything else on Amir?
Yeah. So they visit the Hokia, however you pronounce it, mausoleum that women visit to become, well, in hopes of becoming pregnant or have a safe birth.
Mm.
And clearly, they both knew the meaning and had that in mind. But I also think that Amir was maybe a little impressed, a little embarrassed that Karluk knew the meaning of it. You know, taking these women there. I guess it was more so Mr. Smith that was the one that insisted they go, but
Yeah.
regardless, they did go in. So obviously things like that are signs that she's thinking about it.
For sure, for sure. And I guess it makes sense given the culture and everything. She is quite late to have a child. You know, looking at what is considered normal in this culture here.
Yeah.
So I guess it's not so strange for her to be thinking about that.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. She mentions being in a saddlebag right when she was born, watching the sheep,
Right.
which was funny in comparison to how everyone else in that family's birth was. You know, Karluk's family just swaddled in clothes and in a kind of a crib manger situation. But she was just out on the satchel, watching the sheep. So I don't know if that has like a special meaning to her origins, or if that's just how her clan lived. Like, okay, birth the baby, let's go. We're on the road. I guess if are they nomads in the summertime or the wintertime? Is it summertime?
In the
I think it's
summertime, I believe, right?
Yeah, the summers. So if she was born in the summer, then maybe they just didn't stay in one place; they just kept moving. So maybe that was how do we on a schedule? Like, hurry, give birth, let's go.
Yeah.
We gotta beat the Silk Road traffic.
Yes. Yeah.
But I will say, if there is a special meaning, it could be quite interesting. Why that could be, like, you know, was she adopted? What was she? I'm not sure how adoption worked in those times. Is her parents' origin more interesting than just, you know, mother and father, leader of this family? You know, it could be something more than that. But that's just me reading into it.
Right.
More than is probably intended.
No, but that's fun. I hadn't really given it much thought, so it's good that you did. I guess. Although I guess most of what I was thinking regarding that was just that I thought I guess that it was a little strange that she claimed to have memories of basically after she had just been born.
Right. Yeah. My brother claims to have those kind of memories. I don't know.
Really?
I call cap on a lot of that. Like, maybe that can exist, and some people have incredible memories. But also, a lot of people aren't really cognizant at that time. So it's like,
right.
Can you remember that?
Precise. I mean, I have a friend who even claims to remember coming out the vagina.
The womb?
Yes. He says he remembers seeing his dad and older brother standing there as he was exiting.
I can't.
I do not believe that.
But that's pretty close to what Amir's describing.
I mean, yeah, basically.
Mama gave birth and then they put him in the saddle.
Yeah.
But anyway, so like you said, it was kind of strange in comparison to everyone else, and the family kind of reacted, and I think they even laughed a little bit about it. But on the off chance there has anything to do with her past, just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, nice.
That's all I have for Amir.
Sweet. Then let's move on and talk a little bit about Karluk. What a brave boy.
You mean, excuse me, what a brave man.
Sorry.
You're Chad.
Right. This is
protected his wife.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think some extra points go to him for having stood up against these fully grown and even armed men without
only grown,
hesitation.
Armed, and bearded.
Don't
forget the beard. That's threatening.
Yes.
Intimidating.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. So yeah, no, he he did well.
He did.
And seriously, I think his dedication to protect Amir is, or at least as we see it in this volume, is seriously adorable.
Yeah.
And he stabbed Amir's uncle in the leg and earned himself somewhat of a reputation in town for that. Which of course was exaggerated, but it
As all good
was
stories
fun.
are.
Precisely, exactly. There needs to be a little bit of that. And I liked how Karluk was the one who initiated the tickle fight with Amir after they'd gotten back on good terms again, kind of, or I guess I should say after things were not that stale between them anymore. He initiated the tickle fight, and that was very sweet and wholesome, I thought.
Yeah, I thought it was sweet and wholesome too. I also thought it was kind of like funny weird when like they have the tickle fight and the mom and dad are just kind of like, oh, what's going on? Oh, they must have made up. That's great. And they just start making out.
Yeah.
It's like, what in the world? Okay, whatever turns you're on, I guess. I mean,
No, but I kind of see that as like a parallel in a way. It's like Amir and Karluk having a tickle fight is their current equivalent of what Karluk's parents are doing. Kind of. I mean, because Karluk and Amir aren't there yet,
yeah.
but instead they're
Yeah.
having tickle fights. Like it's kind of the substitute for whatever Karluk's dad and mom were
Right,
up to.
yeah, relieving tensions. Although I did, yeah, I guess it goes back to were there tensions even at that point? I don't know. I feel obviously Karluk felt tension, not understanding why Amir is being so distant with him.
Mm.
But I don't think she ever felt, or meant to ever give those feelings of tension. I guess,
Yeah, no,
lack of a better word.
right. No, I agree. I definitely don't think she meant for it to come off that way.
But hey, bring a man a goat, he'll give you a tickle fight. Win-win.
Yep, that's how it goes. But when Karluk was talking to Mr. Smith before Mr. Smith's departure, Karluk expressed a desire to see England someday.
Yeah.
So now I'm curious to know, I guess, whether or not that will happen eventually.
Amir in England, yeah, that would be fun. Both Amir and Karluk
Yeah,
would be pretty cool.
absolutely.
Maybe it would connect to Mori's other works that had to do with,
Mhm.
British maids, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
Maybe there'll be some sort of crossover.
I mean, I had the same thought. Obviously, I haven't read either of her other works,
Not no.
but
no.
so I guess I wouldn't be able to tell. Like you and I wouldn't be able to tell if there was such a thing happening, like a cameo or something. I don't know.
Right.
From those other manga, but it definitely wouldn't be impossible since it definitely they all seem to be taking place in the same general time. Plus, England is relevant in all of them, and on some level.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess more on Karluk. My last thing on him is a little bit of a development that I noticed when he and Amir were traveling with Mr. Smith. It seemed like Karluk is getting a lot more comfortable with I guess being physically close to Amir now.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, he was a bit uncomfortable with that in Volume 1, but now it seems to come very naturally to him, and he seems very cool with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the panel where I guess Mr. Smith went to go get some water, and as he coming back, he sees Amir and Karluk kind of getting all lovey-dovey, and he's like, oh, well, maybe I'll walk over here a little longer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
give him some space.
Yeah.
But yeah, that kind of stuff to see is sweet.
Mhm.
That same chapter, I guess a little bit before that, they are playing this poem game, and I thought that was pretty neat.
Right.
I mean, that takes a pretty good understanding of a language to be able to to do that. I feel like.
For sure, I think
Um,
so. Yeah,
I think both Karluk and Amir gave some pretty great poems.
absolutely. Yeah, freestyling like that
Yeah,
for
yeah.
poems. Yeah, takes skill.
I mean, top 5 rappers and Eminem wouldn't want to fight. I mean,
Yeah,
Karluk may be up there.
for sure, for sure. Anything else on Karluk?
No,
Then let's talk next about Pariya Togonosh. I like her quite a lot.
I do too.
I like how she's got this tough exterior, but on the inside she's soft and very sweet.
Yeah, I like how she's kind of unconventional in their world.
Right.
You know,
Uh-huh.
I mean, it does suck in the moment where she is struggling to find, or her parents are struggling to find her a husband that would want to take her as his wife. But I feel like there's something special about a person who is not this cookie cutter. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I like that her uniqueness.
Right. Cuz like I mean she makes amazing bread.
Yeah,
And I think she's really cute.
yeah.
Yet she has been refused by all of the marriage prospects that she's met with.
Hmm.
I was like, how can that be? And obviously, I guess it's because she's a girl who's got a brain and who always speaks her mind.
Nah.
But she's I mean yeah she is I guess in a way too modern for the times that she lives in. Um,
Well, they call her cheeky, and is that
mhm.
is that someone who basically just speaks her mind? Is that what it is, or
I assume so.
like talk back or
Mm.
something like that? I don't know.
I yeah I don't know. Well, something along those lines. I assume is what people or men in this society don't fancy in her.
Yeah, I think the other thing that is a struggle for her is the embroidery aspect. She's just
Hmm.
not very good with that. But she's great with the bread. Like her
Yeah,
bread designs are fantastic.
truly.
And I feel like if it were me, I'd be like, girl, we can go to market and get clothes, but your bread, I can't live without that bread.
Yes.
I mean, at this
Uh,
point, I don't know if they have bakers in their society, but she just need to marry a baker and they'll be good to go, right?
right. I think so.
It was interesting to see in her introductory chapter the culture of all these women going into the bread oven
Hmm.
to kind of set up the bread and then bake it and gossip. It's very interesting. Don't really have an equivalent of that in our society. Maybe like going to a watering hole or washing clothes together or something. But there was
Mm.
never. I don't know. I can't think of a thing where everyone went and cooked bread or something like that.
Right. It was like oven day, so I assume it was like a
Yeah.
communal oven that was turned on for a day or so.
Maybe it's like the Vikings bathing day.
Oh, right, the Saturdays.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know, is it a weekly thing or is it rarer for this oven to be on? I
Not sure.
have no idea.
By the way, I looked up what this bread could be.
Oh.
Actually, it's hard to pinpoint where exactly it could be or what it's called in the region because in that area of Central Asia, there's a few places that cook somewhat similar bread,
Mm.
but the one that I feel like that would be correct is called chorek, Chorek,
Mm.
and I believe I forgot to write it down. Chorek is from not Turkey, but
Turkmenistan?
yes, Turkmenistan,
Cool.
which is kind of southeast of the Caspian Sea.
Precisely. Right, Turkmenistan is the location that I had basically been assuming that the story takes place in so far.
And I think this kind
So
of proves it because a
right.
lot of the other areas that have this bread, they're all a little different. The one, another one was kind of close, but that's like Uzbekistan, and that's way too far north.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So
Right. Right.
it feels like this is kind of proves for sure. Besides other factors,
Hmm.
that it is Turkmenistan or whatever it's called,
Turkmenistan.
Turkmenistan.
Hmm. Yeah.
That.
Yes. Yes. Uh, cool. Cool. That's awesome. Nice work on the bread research.
I like bread.
Good. Good. Well, Pariya also seems to be quite good at paying attention to people and like noticing people who are in need of help, even though they're quiet. Like obviously she does in her introduction scene, and how she will stand, or at least as she did for Amir, how she stood up for her and
Hmm.
you know did what she could to help, even though maybe it was in a more direct and maybe more, I guess, confrontational way than most others might like. It's still, I think, a very sweet gesture, and so basically I just basically just love how her introduction establishes these traits of hers.
Absolutely.
And of course, as we were talking about before, regarding Amir's quote unquote inability to speak up for herself, and how that's
Hmm.
something that Pariya is pushing her to improve on. I think I'd like to see more of that, and for Pariya to help
Yeah,
her out perhaps with that.
for sure. Yeah, that's definitely a great quality for her is that she definitely speaks her mind,
Yeah.
speaks for herself, and maybe that's where the cheekiness comes in.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, maybe there's a balance to be had for both Pariya and Amir.
Hmm. I suppose. I suppose. But is there anything else on her?
No.
Then let's move on to Mr. Smith. He is doing a research. I guess that may have been established in the previous one, but seeing his, I guess, amazement at the mausoleum,
Yeah.
I thought was very fun to see. First of all, and it definitely established his passion for, well, learning about this culture and the history in this geographic region and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate his eagerness to learn, but also
Hmm.
wanting to help. Yeah, he because of him, the sheep parade, the sheep
Stampede.
stampede. That's the word. The
Hmm.
sheep stampede came through clutch in the end. I
Yes.
liked how before he caused the stampede, he basically told the guy, "I know how important sheep are to you and your people.
Yeah.
Please forgive me." Just
Yeah.
proceeds to scare them.
It was so funny. So yeah, he more or less saved the day there. Uh, so that was very well done.
Yeah.
And how apologetic he was about it was also very funny,
Yeah.
both before and afterward. But uh, he also ended up receiving some letters from one Mr. Hawkins, who is currently in Macedonia, a friend of his from back in England.
Hmm.
And I guess the letters that he received from this guy also included letters from his family back home, which I guess was the initial little reminder to him in this volume about perhaps continuing his journey so that he can get back home before too long.
I'm curious what this family is. Is it, you know, family as in wife and kids or family as in mom and dad?
Exactly. It really could be either.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But depending on the answer, it could mean something different for the story. That's
Uh,
all I'm saying.
oh, right. Oh, yeah. Whether he gets a bride here or not, you mean?
I don't like how the way you put that, but yes.
Well, yes, yes.
Here's your consolation for being in this country. Here's your new wife. Thank you. Which honestly is probably on point for the time period or previously, but
Hmm. Although I wonder culturally, it could be strange, or maybe it wouldn't be likely, or at least based on what we learn, what we know, or what we learned through this manga so far regarding how marriages between families and whatnot work is usually for benefit in various ways.
Mm-hmm.
And to marry off your daughter to a foreigner, maybe it's not that likely. Because what would you gain from that? I wonder.
Yeah, maybe not much, but I think a lot of families don't gain too much from their daughters marrying away. I think usually you
Mm,
have
mm.
the daughter if they stay in the family, like for example, oh shoot, I'm forgetting names. But Karluk's sister who is married to her obviously has a husband, but
Silike.
Silike, they're in with that family. But the other siblings have all gone and all different places. So they're not
Mm.
necessarily bringing wealth or necessarily benefiting things. And to be honest, it's more of a burden for the family members to marry off women because they have to worry about the clothing, the dowry, and things like that.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of expenses. So that's too big of a deal. Now, if it was marrying a son, I could see that maybe being an issue,
Mm.
especially if the youngest son or the only son who ends up getting the household probably want them to stay in the area and not leave, anything like that.
Right. Yeah. Right. I wonder if this is a difference if you compare people who live in one place to the nomads of this culture,
Mm.
because obviously the Halgal clan seemed to be very keen on marrying off brides to the Numaji clan.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, because I assume perhaps for nomads, it expands the area within which they can ride and hunt
Oh yeah, good
and
point.
and travel more freely. So I guess marrying brides off for nomads might be more beneficial compared to marrying off brides for a family that lives in one place. Perhaps I don't claim to know about this. I'm just kind of speculating right now, but it could be something like that.
And also, England is a very wealthy place, at least comparatively speaking.
I suppose so.
So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe there could be some sort of benefits from that in that way, but it is so far away that maybe they wouldn't even really get those benefits.
Right.
Um, so not
Hmm.
sure.
Hmm.
But but you're right that obviously they Amir's clan wants to marry to the Namaji so they can benefit from their great tracts of land.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm curious if the Namaji are interacting with the Northerners, the Russians, in that way as well. It may just be solely military speaking, but maybe there is some marrying of
Oh yeah.
sons and daughters there, but who knows? Anyway,
Could be.
uh, along that line, because I do have a thing about Smith in this regard.
Mm-hmm.
Briefly, I thought, depending on Smith's status and his comfortability, it could be interesting if Pariya would be his partner. And the only reason I bring that up is because she is so unconventional in their society,
Hmm.
and she does kind of speak her mind, which is maybe a little more of the Western mindset. Although, if you compare it to nowadays, it's probably not even close. But you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I thought that chapter they go to the mausoleum, maybe there could have been something there, but they only had that brief interaction and never really spoke again. And he's going on and potentially has some sort of family. At this point, I don't I don't think it would be the case, but I'm just kind of throwing out an option,
Right.
especially if she's struggling to find a husband or her parents are struggling to find a husband. Maybe they turn to this English guy as like, please take her. That's so terrible, but
uh,
maybe that happens.
no, but I kind of like that thought though. But as you said, maybe it's not that likely anymore now that Smith has
Right.
went off. Since I don't know, the feeling I'm getting now is that he may be gone for quite some time. It's just the vibe
Yeah.
I'm getting. and so that the story may be focused or divided kind of from here on out, more or less.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe if he does get acquainted with someone else, maybe there's romance to be had there.
Right.
But yeah, what I'm saying is, Pariya missed her shot. It's Mr. Chance like this.
Maybe she did.
This is all under the idea that Smith is a single man.
Yeah. Uh, then there was this English woman who, well, passed by and gave Smith another letter after he had already received letters.
She's wearing trousers.
She was wearing trousers. Oh my.
Scandalous.
So he was just getting a bunch of letters. And even after that, he got yet another letter, which was the one that sent him off to retrieve this item that had been procured for him.
Right.
Whatever that item is.
I know.
So I guess, yeah, he's a popular guy in this volume anyway.
I guess so. I'll have more to say on all of that later on. I think that's really all I have on Smith, unless you have anything else.
No, I'm good now as well. So let's move on and talk about Azel. I definitely enjoy getting to know his character a bit more in this book.
Uh-huh.
And especially how it seems like he's kind of torn between following the orders of his uncles and,
right,
or doing what's best for his sister, because it's clear that he does care for her.
He's just in a tough place. He can't really refuse the family, but like you said, he cares for her. This is what I was trying to keep my mind open in the previous volume. Like, maybe he actually does have a good side to him, and it's clear to me he does.
Yes,
he could have stopped Amir from getting to the horse, and then he helped Amir's family find her horse after it was all said and done.
Precisely. And I think for that to be his last action of this book
means he loves the horse.
Oh no, wait. Exactly. No, but yeah, like it's I think a promising sign that he will ultimately be a great guy.
Yeah.
And I think right now he may obviously I don't think he's completely turned over or whatever you want to say. I think he's still struggling because I'm sure there's a degree of, I don't know what to call it, like peer pressure or pressure in general from the Halgal clan.
Yeah.
That he probably feels that he should act in certain ways.
Maybe they'll be punished.
Right, precisely. Like, who knows? So I don't think his struggles are over, but I do think that before it's too late, he will do the right thing, I guess.
Yeah, I hope they make amends, not just with Amir, but the entire family.
Yeah.
And maybe they are able to sit together and eat a meal at some point with the Ahorn family, but
yeah,
not quite there yet.
Right, not yet. His cousin Joruk also seems to be a decent fellow, I think.
Yeah, he really does.
The guy who ate the apricots in the previous book.
Only ate one.
Yeah. Because like he understands that Azel doesn't want to give his little sister to the Numaji, and I thought his talk with Azel, even though Azel wasn't really talking back much, I thought was sweet. I think it's clear that he cares and that he wants to put the effort in to show that he cares and to potentially help out if he can. So I also enjoyed seeing his character develop a little bit more for us here.
Yeah.
Anything else on Azel?
Is he taken? I assume so, right? I'm trying to help Pariya. I'm like, I just girl, you need some help. Let's get on Tinder. Let's do something. Like,
exactly.
We can make this work.
Yes. Let's talk about Tileke.
Yes.
Her cloth preparations are starting in this book, and I guess she's getting ready for possibly getting married off somewhat soon-ish.
Well, start now. so you're not panicking when the time comes.
Yeah, I think that's smart. But of course, she only wants to make hawk motifs with her
It's so
embroidery.
cute.
It's
It's so cute.
adorable, yeah. And I loved seeing Tilike's like imagination as like the hawk
Oh
embroidery
yeah,
came to life, and just seeing that
that was
pure
pretty
joy in
great.
her face as she envisioned that.
Yeah,
I thought that was amazing to see, and like it made me really happy, kind of, for
yeah.
her. I don't know, just seeing her that way was so joyous. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something special about finding a thing, something that you really like and can
Mm,
connect to and just have good vibes with.
yeah.
And obviously it's not the real thing, she's just imagining it, but you know, it
Mm,
just that simple sewing or the embroidery that she made is able to bring those feelings. That's great.
hmm.
And I hope one day she does get a hawk as we've said before. But
Absolutely.
it was really interesting to learn about the family history behind the cloth patterns
Yeah.
and just how that works with the great grandmother, great grandmother, and seeing all the designs on one cloth was really cool, and how that kind of
Mm,
sparked Talike's imagination and her desire to make new patterns. I'm excited to see what her designs will look like in the future. And I hope
yes.
she doesn't get rid of the hawk ones. I keeps them,
For sure.
but builds on what her family has.
Hmm.
I think it was also nice to see Amir's embroidery patterns and how they're very tomboyish, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But kind of kind of, I guess, assured Talike that it's okay to have these hawks as your pattern,
Hmm.
among other things. I just I like that, and yeah,
Yeah.
just it was a fun chapter.
Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah, and I also really enjoyed learning about how embroidery patterns like that have been passed down in generations, like within families in this culture, and how just how that works, and it's such a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and everything that her mother did to motivate her, and ultimately showing off the patterns of of their ancestors and whatnot, I think was great for Tilike's motivation.
mm-hmm. And this one's Tisekan's. She had a great personality. They don't say personality. They say like disposition or something like that. But basically,
Yeah, yeah.
she has a great personality.
That was funny. Uh, the last character for me, and I guess it's not a whole lot, but I have a little bit on Yusuf. He and a bunch of the other guys in town, I think, did a phenomenal job defending the town and defending Amir
Yeah,
when the Halgal clan came to town. And Yusuf even went toe to toe with Azel, which I thought
yeah,
was
man.
very impressive and a bit unexpected.
I think he got had revenge on his mind, or not a revenge, a bone to pick, really.
Yeah,
Like
right.
based on their previous encounter.
For sure. Yeah, and I like how the town in general, they weren't going for the kills ever. Like they were only going for like non-lethal attacks, basically.
Don't
Um,
throw that rock. What are you gonna kill them? Like,
right.
yeesh.
So it was kind of wholesome, even though obviously it was brutal as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the fact that they had that mindset throughout the whole thing to not kill and not do that serious harm. Of course,
Yeah.
they would insult them in various ways, like cutting the manes and the tails off the horses, which supposedly in this culture is a great insult, kind of.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, yeah. I love the little extra information at the end of the books here, and I like how it's not just, I guess, plain text describing certain things, but Mori kind of does it in a funny way, kind of, to give us this information through the comics, kind of. I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess on the whole non-lethal attacks thing that Yusuf and the others were doing, I was I was thinking about the buckets that they tossed at the invaders, and I think that was poop, pee, even.
Yeah, I mean, you can't really waste water in their situation.
Right. Plus, they said something about who's dirty now or something like that
Uh,
afterward. So I'm quite sure it was potty stuff.
Nasty, man.
Very nasty. Uh, but hey, it doesn't kill, so it's fair game. uh, well, do you have any other characters you want to talk about?
I don't think I do.
Alrighty, then let's move on to some predictions. Now, as we've been talking about, it definitely is looking like the story will kind of divide its focus between the Ahon family and whatever new place Mr. Smith is going to, and potentially even other places beyond that. Who knows? But at least for now, to start off, it'll probably be those two locations that it'll be split between.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm excited, first of all, to see what new characters will meet in the next volume
Yeah.
on Smith's side of the story, and to see a new bride introduced, or maybe multiple. I think as far as new brides go, I think we're more likely to see a bride in the location where Smith is headed.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I think Pariya and Tilike obviously, I'm sure will become brides eventually, but I don't think that's gonna happen as soon.
Yeah. No, I feel like TLK will be a while, and then
Mm.
I mean, because until there's a time skip,
Mm.
but I don't feel like we're gonna have a time skip for quite a while, if at all.
Right, right.
But Pariya, I think that's definitely someone that the story could come back to. I mean, we're kind of just
Yeah.
left hanging on the whole uh husband search. So I
Mm.
feel that's definitely a character who will get an arc of some kind.
I'm sure. I just don't think she will find her husband all that soon. I
No,
think it'll
no.
happen later.
I meant yeah. I mean
Hmm.
later on in the story.
Right. Hmm.
I guess it could be a gradual thing as well, like in between Smith's journeyings or the brides that he meets. Maybe there's like little things with about Pariya as well. But I'm actually thinking that this next volume is going to focus on the new village that Smith is in. And then maybe at the end of the volume, we have a chapter or two with Amir and
Mm.
and Karluk. But that's just
Oh
me.
yeah. No, but I actually kind of like that. Because I don't know. I had only really like in my head. I had only really thought about it as kind of being like the focus being divided more or less evenly and kind of going back and forth a bit. But I actually kind of like the idea of really getting into the new location, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
and really focusing on that for several chapters, or like as you said, maybe an entire volume almost. I think that could be pretty nice to establish the new area and the new characters.
Yeah.
Something I'm not necessarily predicting this for the next volume, but for the future of the story, I'm really hoping to see Amir and her brother have a talk and basically just talk it out, everything that's going on between them and especially maybe for Azel to well to have a change of heart fully, I guess, and to maybe leave the bad people of his clan behind him or something. I don't know. Because they haven't really gotten to talk,
Mm-hmm.
and I would love to see that.
Yeah. I like that to see that too. Going back to Mr. Smith,
Hmm?
I had no idea what the parcel could be, to be honest.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But there is something he says at the very end of this volume about some being caught up in battle, some being researchers being caught up in battle or have fallen under suspicion of being spies may never return alive.
Hmm.
And the first time I read that, I didn't think much of it, but the second time I was like, wait a minute, could he be a spy that's just under the guise of a researcher?
Oh.
Because he has this moment where he thinks back on his childhood and why he wanted to be in the Middle East, but only he almost kind of feels melancholy about it, as if he's not making his dreams come true, or he's like using his dreams
Huh.
wrongly or something like that. And maybe that's just me reading too much into it again. Classic. But I don't know. Like I almost wonder if not he's not obviously not spying on the Karluk's people. I think he's just spying on the Russians because it's the Anglo Russians that are tensions are high.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Just my thoughts,
Interesting.
especially since he's also sending letters, probably telling them about the situations that he's in. Like what's the situation in your area of the world? What's going on.
Hmm.
And even if it's just giving information, maybe that could be considered a spy in some cases.
I mean, right. That is a very funny speculation, and I part of me wants to believe that it's true because it definitely would make things exciting, I think.
Uh-huh.
But then I consider like all of the seemingly very real and legit enthusiasm he has for the culture and the research and everything
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel like it's that he is just legitimately a researcher, or he's there because he wants to learn about the culture and the history. So I guess I'm a bit torn, but I really like that speculation though.
No, and I think he can have those feelings, but then he can also feel like he's betraying those feelings because he's really
Hmm.
there for a different motivation, different reason
Ah.
uh, to spy, and that's why while he dreamed of coming to this area like the great heroes he heard about,
Hmm.
uh, he has to do it dubiously. He feels.
Right. Okay. So,
So he's not really like those heroes, those
interesting.
researchers.
Right. So he is kind of a researcher, but also a spy. I
Yeah,
guess
yeah,
in this speculation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. In my
Uh,
in my speculation, my
right.
theory.
And I guess that would probably in a way be the best kind of spy who isn't only
True.
that, but also has something that he's actually there for that he wants to do as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because that definitely gives him a reason to be there besides only the spying. Yeah, yeah. That's very fun. I'm definitely excited to see now whether or not this will end up being true or not.
If this is the case, Mr. Smith became a way more interesting character than I first thought in Volume One.
Oh yes,
That's for sure.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
And to be fair, I didn't even think we would get, as it seems to be implying for Volume Three, that we would be getting this Mr. Smith perspective. As he travels to this new village, we see a new bride. Like I didn't think it'd be coming from his point of view.
Ah.
You know,
Mm.
it did. I mean, I don't think. Did you feel like that was going to happen in Volume One?
Or like that we would be following Mr. Smith.
Yeah, like if we were to see other brides, we would
Mm.
have to like Mr. Smith would be the focal point of the story.
Ah, yeah, yeah, no, not exactly, no. uh, no.
Yeah,
So it is fun that he gets some
yeah,
time to shine like this, kind of. Even though he is leaving the family, he's still staying around in the story. I'm glad about that.
yep, yeah. But new village, new bride, new culture. I don't think these would be nomads. It seems to be an actual village, like a set place.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way.
I'm still hoping on that we'll learn more about a nomadic family, but
Hmm.
yeah,
And I'm sure we will. I'm sure for one, I'm sure we'll learn about the nomads partially through the Halgals. As the story progresses, and maybe we'll even meet Uncle Umak again, and learn a bit more about them as nomads too.
mm-hmm.
But are there any other predictions?
No, I think we talked about everything.
Cool. Well, I'm glad that this book helped set the expectations for you that you had hoped that it would.
Yeah, I understand where the story is going now.
Precisely, it definitely did a good job with that. And I feel like it's getting more exciting also, I think, with the with the story having established the Russian conquest of Central Asia actually going on.
Yeah.
I think that definitely kind of ups the stakes extra, and
I agree.
I think it's so far doing a good job with that. So it's not just a historical setting; we're actually finding ourselves in a historical event on top of that, kind of. And I think the characters in the story continue to be brilliant so far. I said last time I thought Volume 1 did a great job at kind of establishing the Ahon family, especially, but obviously Amir included in that, and kind of setting up the family dynamic for that house in a way. And I think this volume continued to, well, it didn't focus on the family as much, but with Azel, for example, he was a character who really grew for me in this volume. And I just feel like this, where I get the feeling that this story, it will continue to give us characters that are, mostly at least, just like good characters, I guess. Good and like likable characters, even though maybe they won't seem like it initially, like Azel sort of did, but it seems like just everyone's nice. Not everyone. I shouldn't say everyone, but a lot of the most important characters are. I mean, the baddest character in this volume, that uncle, who was kind of leading the Hallgals when they arrived. As far as I'm aware, he wasn't even named.
Yeah. I can't remember.
So he doesn't even count. And like, so like basically all of the characters who've received names are good characters, and I kind of like that, I guess, positivity that this series so far has been giving.
That's fair. Yeah.
And and so what I was gonna get to with all that is that after now having read 2 volumes of A Bride's Story, I think I'm rating it an 8 out of 10.
Nice.
What about you?
Oh, good question. I think it's really close to an 8, but I'm still gonna give it a 7.
Fair.
But I'm really enjoying it, and I'm excited to read Volume 3 and see what new bride we have, what new characters we have coming in. But I feel like Mori is a great storyteller and a great teller of culture, or share of culture, and I feel the story has a lot of potential to really grow in my mind. The only thing I ask is, this is just my personal preferences, less boobies, please.
Oh.
I mean, I feel like once a volume is too high of a quota for my taste.
I mean, fair. Yeah, I guess we'll only have to read Volume 3 and find out if there's more.
Look, if the only chapter that Amir is in is of her just butt naked, then I have some questions. Don't act like you don't enjoy it, please. Don't go there. But I do love Amir.
Of course.
Amir is awesome.
She is.
Favorite character.
Yes. Same.
Easy.
I agree. I think Pariya is competing quite well with her, right? Or at least in my mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love both of them. And I mean, hell, Karluk is very likable too.
He's a Chad.
And you know, Azel grew for me, as I said as well in this one. So you know, there's a lot of good ones.
Yep.
But is there anything else we want to talk about before ending this episode?
No, I should be good.
Lovely. Then let's finish this one. If you enjoy our content, you can follow us on Twitter at Umami Manga, and it would be lovely if you'd like to support us by rating our show on the podcast platforms and subscribing to our channel Umami Manga on YouTube. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time when we'll talk about Volume 3. Bye bye!
See you later.
I guess or maybe I should moisten up my mouth a little bit. That's moist. Yum.